Hey, good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday, so it must be Insurance Questions Podcast number 278, Part 2. How do I get started buying life insurance and how much do I need? So check this out first. A new one, Don.
If you want to protect your family and don't know what to do, there's a voice on the other side that can walk you through. They know the questions before you even ask. They keep it real, keep it simple, and they do the math. So take a breath, you don't have to guess. When life is loud, they'll help you get this mess. Listen to Insurance Questions Podcast. They are in the know. Listen to Insurance Questions Podcast. Let the answers flow. Donnie Lowe, stand-up guy, you know. He'll show you the way. He'll show you the way. He can even protect your pets if you want that peace of mind. From the front door to the back porch, he's got your tail covered right. And when the bills start talking like they own your name, he brings the kind of clear advice that cuts through all the blame. So take a breath, you don't have to guess. When life is loud, they'll help you get this mess. Listen to Insurance Questions Podcast. They are in the know. Listen to Insurance Questions Podcast. Let the answers flow. Donnie Lowe, stand-up guy, you know. He'll show you the way. He'll show you the way. And when you are ready to make some money, Eddie Buffalo's got you, yeah, he makes it sunny. He'll put you into the annuity you need. One size does not fit all, that's the truth indeed. Listen to Insurance Questions Podcast. They
Yeah.
are in the know. Listen to Insurance Questions Podcast. Let the answers flow. Donnie Lowe, stand-up guy, you know. He'll show you the way. He'll show you the way. One size does not fit all, and they treat you like family. Listen to Insurance Questions Podcast. It's the place to be.
What'd you think about that, Donnie Lowe?
I love it. It's awesome. Great job.
You could tell everybody it's very Donnie Lowe heavy. So I think I was like getting it for like 2 seconds. That's how Donnie Lowe is. He's taking over. The revolution will be televised, and Donnie Lowe will be in charge of it all. Hey, hi everybody. It's your buddy Eddie Buffalo and Donnie Lowe. And before I forget, happy birthday to Desi Buffalo. I think it's her 25th birthday. I don't know. I might try to call her while you're talking. So all the comments and statements by Eddie Buffalo and Donnie Lowe are purely for entertainment purposes and a whole lot of shizzy. So you do your thing, Don, and I'll see if I can get Desi on the line.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. The best way to experience the podcast.
You to say.
I know, is if you go to our YouTube channel, which is EBI Media Insurance Questions Podcast. EBI Media Insurance Questions Podcast. There you get to see the videos that we show, the Oh, you can listen to the music. You can do that when you're listening to a podcast anyway. But look at the facial expressions on Eddie's face, and you can see my playoff beard. So hopefully it'll continue for a long time. But like, share, and subscribe if you so choose. If you prefer to listen, we're on 53 different podcast depositories. So basically, wherever you listen to your podcast, we're there. Like, share, and subscribe also. But always know that we're extremely grateful for you taking time out of your day to share it with us. So thank you so much. All right, Eddie.
Let's see if I can call her. See if we can get her on the line.
All right, sounds good. One ringy dingy. Two ringy dingy.
We'll look for a bad message. We'll both sing to her, Don.
No, you don't want me singing. It'll crack the screen.
Well, they won't take it down.
Hey, Eddie.
Is this the birthday girl?
Go.
Oh, shit, it
Is it Desi Buffalo? And you just said shit on air, you know.
Oh, my goodness.
You are on Insurance Questions Podcast number 278, part 2. How do I get started buying life insurance and how much do I need? Happy birthday, Desi. And by the way, all the comments by Desi Buffalo are purely for entertainment purposes. Donnie's here to say happy birthday to you, too.
Happy birthday, Desi. I don't know if she could hear me.
Much.
What are you doing for your birthday today, girl?
Oh, fun stuff. I'm working.
How many times have you turned 25 on this day?
This is my 25th anniversary
Of being 25.
Yes.
Well,
Happy birthday.
I was here to give you a hug and a kiss for happy birthday. But you have a wonderful day, honey. And if you get a chance, call me later, okay?
I sure will. Bye,
And
Eddie. Bye, Donnie.
and
Thank
happy-
you
Bye
so-
bye.
Say bye to all your fans out there. Everybody loves Desi Buffalo.
Thank you so much, guys. I love you all, too.
Have a good day, honey. We'll talk to you later, all right?
All
Bye.
right, bye.
Bye bye.
So, Don, I got a bone to pick with you.
Oh, come on.
You know, Sunday, Sabres were rolling. It was 4-0 after the first period. Donnie Buffalo. Are you Donnie Buffalo now? You know, you're always going to be Donnie Lowe. Because if you're Donnie Lowe Buffalo, it kind of sounds like you're under the Buffalo, and you don't want to be under the Buffalo.
No, I don't want to be under the buffalo.
Don or some other stuff.
Exactly.
And so I know I shouldn't be saying this, but I have a cheater thing for the games back home that I can usually get a couple different channels.
Yeah.
Do you know last night I could get nothing? Nothing.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know if it's because of the cloud cover or because the weather was so bad here, but I couldn't get anything.
Oh my
So I
gosh.
had to listen to it instead. And I was, after a while, I'm like, screw this. I'm going to friggin' whatchamajigger, just watch the box score. So I want to know, did you see the Blade Gang yesterday?
I saw them from a distance. We were inside the arena. They were outside of the arena. We had just walked in, and then I spotted them. So they were in the street doing their antics. So it was pretty cool. There's a huge crowd around them, cheering them on and everything. So it was great. And saw them on the big screen. I don't know if they called it a jumbotron anymore, but saw them on the big screen because, as you know, at the beginning of this, before the game starts, after they sing the national anthems, Canadian and American.
Yeah, this is an interesting story, guys.
Yeah. So they have somebody banging. There's a big bass drum and with a Sabre logo on it, and they bang it, "Let's go, Buffalo." Boom, boom,
Right.
boom, boom, boom. So it was the Blade Gang. They were all there. And
See, they were
they
saying
did
it
the
might
drum.
have been them. That's what I was going to ask you. Yeah.
Yeah, so they got a rousing ovation. You know, it was great. They got the crowd pumped up, although the crowd was already pumped up. So it was very exciting, very exciting.
Every once in a while, you sit pretty close to where Rob Ray is. Did you see him yesterday?
Well, we sit across from him. Yeah, so he always sits in between the players' benches when he does his broadcast. So we could see him. So we're on the opposite side of the
That's
rink.
awesome. I would still love
Yeah.
to get him on the show for you.
Yeah.
What I
We'll
want to do, I want to say to all our listeners, especially back out in South Buffalo, New York, I've done everything to find out who these guys are on the Blade Gang. I've even, Yes, I love you guys so much. I actually texted my ex-wife, which I hardly ever do. And nobody knows who these kids belong to. And I call them kids because they're younger than us. But
Yeah.
and they kind of look familiar to me. And I want to know where they're rollerblading from. Because I would guess it's like around like on South Park at Adolph's and that. If I had to guess. Or maybe
Yeah.
Jeannie McCarthy's. Those are the two like South Buffalo places where people go. Because anybody in the comments, let us know. I would love to know because I would love to have him on the show. That would be great. That'd be
Wouldn't that be fun? Donnie
Lowe goes to a playoff game and they friggin' lose. Don't go any more games.
Okay,
bastard.
I got a couple stories. All right,
let's hear them.
First off, you know, you ever hear the Spittin' Chicklets? They do they're hockey players. They do the.
I say that all the time. When somebody's giving me shit, I go, I'm gonna hit you so hard and so fast, you're gonna be waking up. But I will be a nice guy and help you pick up your chicklets.
Well, anyway, Ryan Whitney, who's a former NHL player, at the I think it was in November, he said the Sabres had a 0.0000% chance of making the playoffs. So when they made the playoffs, he got bombasted, and mocked, and somebody put a billboard up near the arena, with his name, his picture, 0.00%. And then next to it says, "We're back," so it was great. But he was at the game. He came in to watch the game, sat in the stands with the folks. But they showed him on one of the TV commercial breaks on the big screen, the jumbotron, whatever. So cool. He had one of those. He chugged a beer in front of the crowd, so everybody was going nuts. So that was pretty cool. And one of the MC hosts, I think her name is Courtney. My daughter and I were in the Sabre store before the game, and sure enough, she was in there, and she was wearing like the glitter blue pants. She had gold boots on and all that. I said, "Wow!" I said, "Look at all that glitter. I love the glitter." And she's laughing. I said, "Look at those boots." She says, "I wore them for the first game when the Sabres won. I didn't wear them for the second game, so I have to wear them again because they're going to win." Well, the gold boots didn't come through, unfortunately. Sabres lost in overtime. Spoiler alert.
Because of Donnie Lowe.
Yeah, probably because of me. So
did you buy anything at the Sabre store? How much are jerseys going for now?
It depends. like we always say, it depends. No, somewhere like you can get them from, like a little bit under $100 to $250, $300. If you want like the official game jersey or a game worn jersey, you can purchase those. So obviously those are much higher in price. But they had a lot of cool things, pucks, and just a lot of great things. They're really doing a great job with it. But I know you wanted to mention the national anthems that.
Yeah, let's hear about that, Don. That's very interesting.
Yeah. So before every Sabre home game, whether we're playing an American team or a Canadian team, we always sing the Canadian national anthem first, and then the United States national anthems after that. And the reason why is it goes back to day one of the franchise of the Sabres, which was in 1970, where it just showed our respect because we had a lot of fans from Ontario.
Buffalo was only 4 years old.
I was already in my 40s or 50s or something like that. I don't know, but
you said it, not me.
But we, out of respect for the fans in Canada, and a lot of the Canadian fans had season tickets to the Buffalo Sabres because the Toronto Maple Leafs, the closest franchise, their season tickets always have been so expensive, or you can never get them. So we always showed that respect with, and that comes from the original owners, Seymour and Northrop Nordy Knox.
It is just so exciting to see this happening now. I mean, it's been 15 long years.
Oh, yeah.
I'm really happy for the fans because, it goes back to, like I said, Buffalo's a small town. We're not going to make any excuses for that, but the fans are just rabid fans. And if
Oh,
you
yeah.
put a good product on the ice or on the football field, they're going to come in droves. Even the UB Bulls, when they have a
Yeah.
good season, you'll see a bunch of people. But that was the weird thing that I noticed about living in Dallas, being in a big town, like when they won the World Series and they won the NBA championship. You saw stuff for a couple days and it was gone. You didn't see anybody wear stuff. And I always say at the beginning of the year, you'll go to the gym at the beginning of the football season and you'll see a lot of people with Dallas Cowboys stuff on. And every once in a while, you'll see people, like, there's a lot of people from Houston that live here also, and they go back and forth. So you'll see a lot of Texans jerseys. My one buddy, Wild Bill, still calls them the Houston Oilers, which I thought was kind of funny.
Yeah.
So,
let me finish. Let me just finish real quick on the national anthem. So, one of Cammy Clooney, she's usually sings the national anthems, the Canadian and the American. She won on The Voice, a couple years ago.
Where's she from, Don? Is she from the area?
She's from Buffalo area. Yeah, I think.
I know that redhead kid was that originally, like one of the originals. The redhead kid was from
John Stevens.
I couldn't remember his name. Sorry about that, John.
Yeah.
I don't mean to bash a ginger because I'm one.
So Cammy Clooney starts to sing the Canadian anthem, and her microphone went out. So you couldn't hear her singing, but everybody, it sounded like the entire arena sang the Canadian national anthem. It was so loud, and you couldn't really hear it, how loud it was on TV, because I saw a clip of it. It was so loud, but word for word, right to the end, everybody's cheering, and then she went into the American anthem, and everybody was still singing that one just as loud. So it was really a great experience to go through that.
So a couple things I'd like to talk about before we get started, Don. I lost my train of thought of what I was just going to say. I know. So we've been so busy, and we've been fortunate enough to be able to put out so much content that I haven't been really keeping a tally on everything, Don. So we hit our 5,000th show about a week and a half ago. Where do you think we are as of right now this morning? Oh, I didn't count this one.
We're probably close to, I'd say 5,075.
5,163.
Holy
I was kind of taken aback too about it, Don, too. And so I got to tell you, there's so much content on there, even when you're watching TV shows and movies and everything. There's so many choices right now that some shows just fall through the cracks. And I found this show yesterday, and I was really intrigued by it because I'm a former minor league basketball owner.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the fictional team from LA, and Kate Hudson's in it, Brenda Song. If you know who Brenda Song is, if you've had kids that are my kids' age and your kids' age, Don. Remember, like, The Sweet Life with Zach and Cody that they watched on Disney Channel all the time?
Oh, yeah.
That's her.
Oh, wow.
I actually binged the whole season yesterday because they're only like 20 minutes long.
Oh, really?
But if you get a chance, check out Running Point. They have 2 seasons right now. And it was very entertaining, especially if you like sports and you see the ins and outs. And it was really cool to see, like, the crazy stuff that you actually hear and see and deal with the different dynamics with players, because I still shake my head at some of the stuff I went through when I owned the team. But let's get back to work, Don.
That's cool. And Kate Hudson's, is it her brother or stepbrother? I think her brother was in Buffalo last week, right?
Yes. What was his name again? I forget his name.
I don't know, something Russell.
He's a Russell. So why don't you recap a little bit what we did last week, Don, and then we'll jump right into it.
Yeah, this sounds great. So last week we went through kind of a scenario, and I was interviewing Ed, who was let's see, his name was Bobby Bones. So he's a Buffalo firefighter.
Fireman.
Right.
Yep.
making about $129,000 a year. His spouse is working part-time at Mighty Taco, making about
Mighty
$20,000 a year. Mighty Taco.
Mhm.
They've got 3 children, 12, 11, 10, and 1 on the way. They own their own home. Their mortgage is about $1,500 a month. Their house is worth about close to $300,000. They have about $275,000 on the mortgage, about $10,000 in credit card debt. They pay about, they lease a truck, about $575 a month for that. And so health-wise, they're both very healthy, so no issues there. So we were talking about financial protection for their family. And as we were kind of going through that interview process, we wanted to, they were asking us, well, you know, what do I need to do to get started for life insurance? How much do I need? And how do we figure that out?
I'm going to put you on pause for a second, Don. So last week, the interview process was just with Bobby Bones. We didn't talk to his wife. We didn't talk to any of the kids. So when you go back for the second time to present what you came up with, you want to make sure both are there.
Yes,
Okay,
absolutely. And
hey, come on, Susie. This is my wife, Susie Q. Come on
Susie
in.
Q.
Meet Donnie. She doesn't want to come on camera, so she's
I didn't know Susie Q was that shy.
she's kind of shy. Yeah, she's a redhead from South Buffalo. You know, they're all so shy.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So they wanted to know that. So that the first appointment is typically what we refer to as a fact-finding appointment. We try to get as much information as we can, so we can, you know, just present some different ideas for you that will suit your needs. And always know when we dig into some of these questions, it stays right there. It doesn't go to anybody else.
We're not doing it to be nosy. We're trying to put together a plan that is tailored for you and your family and their needs.
Right. And the
not
insurance
selling you anything. We're giving you an opportunity to get what you need. Hey, Don, I'm
Exactly.
sounding like you.
You're learning. You're
I
learning.
know.
So one of the things that that we did not mention was, you know, and I'll ask you now, Bobby Bones, what on a monthly budget, you know, what would you feel comfortable paying to suit your budget?
I don't know. With all the insurance you're talking about, Don, is $250? Is that unrealistic?
No, not at all. And you know, we'll come up with a plan to keep it within that. So that was a very good answer, because I did come up with a plan.
Pause
And
again. If someone's telling you $250 for their family, they're lowballing you. They're actually going to pay more for your family because they love their family.
yeah,
Okay, Don.
no, that's very true. So we talked about, you know, should something happen to you, how long do you want your current income to be fed into your family should you not be here?
I mean, Susie Q is pretty hot, so she's gonna get a boyfriend real quick after I croak off. So she'll be fine. She'll be fine.
Well, I think the answer was
right, honey. Right, honey. Don't hit me. I'm fine.
So we're thinking about your children, so that your surviving spouse does not have to move from their house. Keep them in the same schools, maybe up until college or a little bit after college. So
and that's huge, because you don't want to have to rush back to work. You want to be able to grieve as long as you need to, because it's a personal thing and everybody grieves differently.
Right, right. So again, the ages of your children are 12, 11, 10, and 1 on the way. All right.
Yeah,
so
I hope it's fine. That's all I got. You better come out looking like me.
This fact-finding mission is really going sideways. But so you want to make sure that there's some income there, especially for the soon-to-be, you know, newborn, throughout his or her life, or well, until maybe 18, 20 years old, right? Is that a good statement for me to make to you, Bobby?
Yes.
All right. So based on the information we have, your expenses, your income, you want to wait until at least your newborn is protected with some form of income until they're about college age or so. What we're looking at is you have an annual income of 130,000. You want that over 20 years, say. We're looking at about $2.5 million of coverage. And
How much?
about $2.5 million.
Hey, Susie Q, if I end up dead, they're going to look at you first, all right? Just saying. So watch it. I know you got a lot of brothers, so whatever.
Yeah, whatever. But we're going to structure this in a different way. We're not going to say, okay, here's a 20-year, and we're going to go with it to start a term policy, which is they're lower premium, gives you that death benefit coverage. It does not build any type of cash value at all, but it's purely for financial protection. And at this point in your life, you're younger, you've got your kids, you need as much insurance as you can afford. So with your $250 a month budget, I crafted a plan for you where you're going to have $2.5 million worth of coverage, but it's going to be kind of what we call laddered. You're going to have a couple different policies to give you that coverage. All right. And Eddie's looking at me like, oh, I didn't even know you were going to go this way. Is that true? Is that true, Bobby?
I don't know. I'm half paying attention to you, Donnie. That's why I got Susie Q. She knows all this stuff.
There you go.
I just give her the money to pay for it.
There you go. So for the first 10 years, you're going to have the full $2.5 million coverage, because what we're going to do is we're going to layer this for you. So you're going to have a 10-year policy of $1.5 million.
Wow, that's a lot.
Well, because you need that. We're saying about $2.5 million worth of coverage. You're going to have a 15-year policy with $750,000 worth of coverage, and you're going to have a 20-year policy with $750,000 worth of coverage. So for the first 10 years, you're going to have that totals $2.5 million worth of coverage. Okay.
Wow. That's crazy.
And you figure in 10 years, your 12-year-old's going to be 21 or 22. Your 11-year-old's going to be 21. Your 10-year-old's going to be 20. Your newborn's going to be 10. Okay.
Right. I'm going to put pause. I'm going to hit pause again on this, Don.
Yes.
And I want to let people know that you're not just picking this out of a book and saying, oh, it's not cookie cutter. Okay.
Right.
When Donnie is talking about this presentation and he says one size does not fit all, he's actually tailoring this to each individual family, because what the fact finder also is for to find out is what is very important to your client, and don't give them what they don't want. You know what I mean? So, okay. Pause button's off, Don. Go ahead.
Okay. So this is there's a lot of information, a lot of numbers here without seeing it written down, because normally I would have this written down. We would go through it line by line. I would show you. Okay. So we've got a 10-year policy of $1.5 million, a 15-year policy of $750,000, and a 20-year policy of $750,000. So the first 10 years, you have the $2.5 million worth of coverage. The 15 years, you'll have $1.5 million worth of coverage. And at the 20 years, it'll be $750,000 worth of coverage. Okay. And at that time, your newborn will be 20 years old. So you still have coverage there for your newborn. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What would you expect to pay in the first 10 years for that $2.5 million worth of coverage?
I don't know, Don. I don't do your job. I don't have to know what you do for a living. Do you know how to set up? You probably know how to set fires, but you don't know how to put them out, Don. So you tell me.
I will tell you. So we wanted to keep within your budget of $250 a month. So for the first 10 years, that would be about roughly $235 a month.
How much again?
$235 a month for the first 10
Oh,
years.
that's
for
less
two and
than
a
what I
half.
thought you pay for it, Don. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, let me ask you this though. You only want me to put 50 grand on each kid. Why can't I get more?
You can get more. You do qualify for more, but I would right now the focus is your budget and coverage. So what we'll do is as your income increases and you want to start to build cash value, we'll take some of that term insurance and convert it to a whole life insurance, which is where you start to build up that equity.
Pause button again. Why did you do that, Don? What are the reasonings for doing term insurance instead of just all whole life right away?
Because if you got whole life insurance at $2.5 million, it would be way, way beyond what your budget is. It's, you know, it's not going to suit your budget. So the idea with a, you know, especially a younger couple with younger children, you're budget conscious, and we want to give you as much protection as you can afford. So that's the best way to do that, is to start with term insurance, and then you move on to convert it to whole life insurance.
And there is another reason to start off with term insurance. Some insurance salesmen, which we are not, like saying it's Gestada stuff. It's a Gestada set, you know. But what you have to think about, most of the companies that we work with anyways, they have convertible term. What does that mean? At any time of that term of insurance, you can transition to whole life insurance without physical. Why is that important? Because you might be healthy, the kids might be healthy, Susie Q might be healthy, and maybe 5-10 years something catastrophic happens that they become uninsurable. Well, with that insurability, you are insuring yourself to get more insurance, if you want to look at it like that.
Correct. Absolutely. And that's a huge, huge thing, because
Enormous.
that happens. You know, you've had clients, I have clients that's what happened. They started with term, all of a sudden they become ill, and they would not normally be insurable. Yet the way we set up the policy is that at any time you can convert that term insurance to a permanent insurance without going through any type of underwriting. So that's very, very important. So if we continue with our story, so for the first 10 years, it would be $235 a month. Between years 10 and 15, it would drop to about $145 a month. And then years 15 to 20, it would drop to less than $80 a month. So the idea is, if you start to convert some of that term down the road, it'll increase a little bit, but not too much. And you're on your way. You're on your way to permanent insurance, building cash value, and especially should something happen where you become ill and now no longer insurable.
Okay, I think we're going to feed everybody, instead of a fire hose, with a serving spoon. Yeah. And I think this is a good place to stop, because what we did is we put together a plan. Well, I didn't do it, Donnie did. Put together a plan that would work for this couple, okay? And when we're waiting to get an answer from them, I think next week is a good time to talk about overcoming objections and, you know, continuing to listen to your client, because that's the most important thing. I'm a horrible listener. So for me it took me a while to just really sit there and listen to somebody. But once you find out what's important to that person, and it's going to be different pretty much from everybody, you know, is that's what you want to tailor to those people.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like giving at least 3 options for them. And we'll get into a little bit of that next week. I think next week you might be Bobby Bones.
Okay.
You're only a young kid, though. You do it good. So I want to thank everybody for listening to us. I didn't think it would take us as many times to get through all this, but this isn't something we're going to rush through. This is something that we're going to make sure that we give you something that not only will take care of your family, but is affordable to you too. Because if you can't afford the coverage that we're presenting, there's no sense in getting it. Because eventually you're not going to pay it and it's going to fall off. The only thing that I will say to end this with today, Don, is that this is not to me and Don, this is to the listeners out there. If you start thinking about getting life insurance or annuities or anything like that, and you talk to somebody, follow through, because unfortunately, the longer we're in this business, we hear horrible stories, stuff that you would not believe happens. And it seems like Murphy's Law. If you start thinking about this and put it off, put it off, put it off, put it off, something bad happens.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're doing a GoFundMe page for you because you don't have any money to bury you. So I don't mean to be, rough on that, but it's the truth. That's what happens. We've seen it over and over and over again. And you think GoFundMe's doing it for free, they're taking a percentage of that money. So if you want to make sure your loved ones are taken care of after you're gone, if you want, and it goes back to my lady in Lackawanna, she's like, I can't believe he did this. She had no idea he had insurance. And I said, why? He took care of you during your life and he's still taking care of you. So if you love your family as much as we do ours, do it, but follow through on it. And I think that's it, Don. I think we're done.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, tune into Dr. Andy. It's going to be a hot button. The bad things about smoking. So make sure everybody tunes into that. It was a really good show. And please, in the comments, tell us if there's something you don't understand that we're talking about the past 2 weeks. Because I think we're going to do 2 more parts on this, just because it's so important to make sure you get the right coverage for your family and for, as you're a insurance agent, to sell your clients the correct things. Because you don't want to be a jumper going from place to place, screwing people and just doing it for the money. We're here because we want to make sure people's families are taken care of.
That's right. That's right.
So we're going to end this like we end every other show. If you like working with people like you, have the same values that you do, have the same passion for life, and love your children as much as we do ours, we are definitely the people to be with. You can reach us at EBI Agency. You can email us at eddiebuffaloinsurance@gmail.com. And what's the hotline, Donnie?
That hotline is 716-541-4118. That's 716-541-4118.
And for all your friends on the South Buffalo Blade Gang for the Buffalo Sabres, what's the number for them?
Yes, it's 716. It's 541-4118.
So I hope everybody has a wonderful day and wonderful weekend. Dr. Andy tomorrow, EBTV Friday for all original music. And then Saturday we rounded up with Late Night with Eddie Buffalo, which was a fun one last week. If you didn't watch it, go back because we got a lot of people watching. We did classic movie monsters.
Nice.
I thought of you, Don, because I knew you would have liked to be on that show.
Yeah, exactly.
So just remember, everybody, life is definitely worth living. What do you got to do, Donnie?
You got to keep on fighting, baby. Keep on fighting.
That's right. So take care, everyone.
Arrivederci. How's that?